Loki, the Prince of Lies. He's got magical powers between his eyes. It's Loki. I don't know. That's all I got.
Get Stokey.
Get Stokey.
I don't know.
Stokey's weird. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, and welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. As in, we're doing it live and off the cuff. Today we're painting up Loki, the Prince of Lies, soon to be released Marvel Crisis Protocol Asgardian pack, along with his half-brother or step-brother, adopted brother, Thor, and Jane Foster, and Lady Sif. Super cool pack. I have almost everything painted. I still got to paint my Thor. But today we're doing up Loki. So, green, yellow, gold, the big horns, majestic. Let's do it. Let's do it, and let's paint this low key, but not.
Yeah, we're not low key about Loki.
No, not at all.
We're high key.
High key. Everyone in Seattle is very high key. They love going high keys. You move to Seattle, you get some granola, you buy a Subaru, and you go high keys. That's the way. That's like, I mean, they just walk in and they, like, you're like, hello, I'm applying to be a Seattleite. And they're like, here's your coffee.
Can we get you a hikey with that?
And here's your hikey jacket.
I don't know what this means. You will.
You soon, you will know all about the hikey. Every Saturday and Sunday, you'll be hikey. Making sure no one has a place to park.
So we've talked in the past about, getting to return to characters and, see them in a new light or see them in a different way. So when returning to Loki from a visual perspective, what was the goal?
So the original Loki that we did was a much younger, newer take on Loki. I don't know why I'm starting with this color. I should really be doing the green first. Foolish Dallas. I'm already messing it up. But it's always been the plan to do the more classic Thor and Loki. I mean, these are just sort of the iconic versions of the characters. So you want to do it. You're going to do it. You're just doing stuff in an order. And so it was super fun to get back to this very, very, very iconic Loki and Thor, just from a pure visual design place, and just like I said, the iconicness of the way they look, right? That big bulky Thor with his big knee pads, and Loki with these great big horns and the classic costume. So they've always been in the plan, right? So it was just time. It just felt like it was time. We're gonna go to green because I don't know why I started the pink. I mean, the pink is for yellow, but we need to start with the green because the green is under the yellow. And I want to, as I've said in the past, trust my dolly. It's a much easier way to paint. Much easier way to paint. Withers morsels. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. As in, yeah, we're alive. We're here. We're here, and some of us are at Gen Con. Maybe some of you are at Gen Con. Is anybody watching from Gen Con right now? That'd be amazing. Get there a day early, sitting in your hotel, watching Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I'd respect that. I mean, I may have done something very similar in the past, you know, who knows. I cast 0 judgments. My big old man chair. Names of the superpowers for this box are so good, matches character so nicely. Ah, thanks. I will tell Dev they did it. They can retire. You did it, boys. Take the day off. We always try to do that. That's always the goal. Is to capture the characters and the way they play, or the names of the powers. You know, definitely in the sculpts. We want to get that whole package, right? And it's, you know, it's a game, so it's not just this person's mega powerful, so they're always mega powerful and they're always going to be the best. It's a game, so there's snapshots in time philosophy we talk about all the time. You know. That is super green, is it not? But that's okay, we're going to tone it all down.
It feels super limey, and I do like it, like as a brightness factor.
Yeah, we're going to tone it all down. We need it bright for now because we're going to use some glazes to work our shadows back into it. So,
what colors do you typically skew towards for shadows on green? Like, we've talked about that for blue and for black, I think a few times, and for white too, but
I don't know if I have a every time color, but for this I'm going to go, I was looking through the Monument paints line, and they have transparent green, and so it's a nice inky color. So I think I'm going to try to like glaze these greens on, which is a mix of green and bright yellow green. And then once this is on, I'll highlight it, and then I'll glaze it all together with the transparent green. I think the transparent green is super rich, which is good, but I'll probably sneak a little Hold Your Blue in there, because a little blue in your green shadows looks really good too. Because I want it punchy and bright, right? If I wanted muted woodland colors, I would start adding browns into my greens and stuff like that. So many different ways to do it. So many paths to victory. We also have to do his face at the same time. Let's put a little red in there. This pack comes out, like, when does this pack come out?
I'd have to look actually, but I can. 1 second.
I'm looking forward to running this pack. A little green into my skin tone. This is it's actually called drab brown, but it's a green. Yeah, I thought it was this Friday. Seegers has his in the shop, has it behind the counter for him right now. That's pretty dope if it's this Friday.
The release date listed on Asmodea's site is August 2nd.
That's this Friday.
Yeah. But as always, that is always an estimated release that they keep up to date and may be different in different regions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I know you know that. That was for the people.
They know. They know. I am unaware of what is being sold at Gen Con.
I know Gen Con has core sets of things. I'm not sure what expansions they have planned.
For as you can see, I am not at Gen Con. Yeah, so I have no idea what is being sold at the Gen Cons.
The booth for folks at Gen Con is booth 817. I believe that's where the demos are, but in the center of all of the like Asmodee Studio booths is the Asmodee shop. So if you go stop by there, you'll be able to see what they have.
Take a look around, see what they got. You never know what might be bought at Gen Con. Get a little yellow, golden yellow, mixed in our green. Put a little highlight on these muscles. This Loki is ripped. At Gen Con. So yeah, my goal here is to get a couple colors on the green and then glaze it all together. That Asgardian terrain is just some of my favorite terrain. I think it's super versatile. People in the studio have definitely been talking about using it for, you know, maybe Shatterpoint as well with the right paint job. But I think it's a real versatile terrain set that has a lot of potential for some cool conversions or interpretations. You know, like I say, with all terrain sets, they're start points, right? Miniatures are just a starting point to your adventure.
Well, and it's so fun to, explore a variety of worlds on your table. And so, being able to have your, Wakanda things as a starting point there. And we have all of the apocalypse things that just went up. I think it was earlier this week to begin building out, those moments. It's great.
That's why we do it. Let's let that dry a little bit, and then let's highlight his face just a touch. I think I'll use tan flush. And drop in my advanced flush. Oh, that tan flush did not get mixed. Can't wait to play a 23 start game. Yeah. Yeah, those one shots add some really interesting aspects to your games of Marvel Crisis Protocol, do they not? Just the way you approach it, the way you build. Really like the one shots. Very fun little idea. The rest of a Dracula table. Oh man, tell us about that. Because I think I'm going to have to do a whole Dracula table as well. I might be working on some hobby content about the castle right now. But I definitely want to add some elements. So I think I might build some little walls or something. Because a full Dracula table sounds really, really rad. Once again, lots of potential there for some really cool stuff. Swampy trees, walls and gates, yeah, a crypt. You know, you need a place for Moon Knight to look for his money. You know, that's what it's really about. Moon Knight just is looking for his casholas. Bro just wants to get paid, man. Look at that face. He's so maniacal. Alright, let's try this transparent green. I don't think I've used this transparent green at all. Shuka, shuka, shuka. Curious how dark this is going to be. Ooh, it is dark. That's pretty sexy. Glaze wash medium. Alright, let's try this out. I've never used this stuff before.
Experimentation.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh my goodness. How satisfying is that?
That is a lovely little color.
Oof.
Stretch that out and stretch that out over that really lime green, right? It's gonna tone it down, but also is gonna give it some of that bite.
I always struggle with green, so I was really looking forward to watching you do this one, and I think I've seen what I need to see. My goodness.
It's a really good green. I just so happened to be watching some monuments, little, kind of like we do those little hits of like samples on social media of like painting. They do those as well. And I just happened to be watching a couple of those, and they were using more of the transparents, and I'm like, well, I haven't really played with those. So I'm curious what it's going to do for the way I paint, and I think I'm digging it. Right? I think I need more highlights personally. I think maybe for anybody else this works just fine. I like more highlights. So we're gonna keep playing. Let's see where this goes. but so far I can get behind this transparent green. It's also slightly turquoise, which I like in green sometimes. I like that little kiss of blue. And this sort of has that, not as much as I kind of lean to. So it's nice, that's different. It's got me thinking a little different. So I like it when things make me think a little different.
Stryker is asking how you plan to tackle the smoke since it's a similar color to the suit.
Great question. Really, it's about using greens, and you can use the same greens, but you got to have something a little different in there to split it up. So these greens are obviously yellow greens over top of white primer. So the very first thing I'm going to have to do is get rid of the white. So I'm going to use light ivory probably to make it an off-white, and that's automatically going to start transitioning those colors to new phases, right? It's going to give them a different feel. And then use a lot of cream colors, so more white green and say yellow green to make it feel different. I'll lean away from the turquoises, right? Whereas the suit's going to get turquoise. So I'm just going to lean away from those colors while maintaining the basic other colors, the primary. And we talk about this a lot with different colors. You know, you have so many characters in Marvel that have, you know, sort of monochromatic costuming, and so it's always about how do you make, you know, two reds stand out from each other, two blacks stand out from each other. It's really about your local or your highlights or your shadows. So we're gonna play with that. So you can see, like, I didn't blend those yellows over top of that green on this suit. I just sort of sloshed it on, and that's okay because I knew I was going to glaze it, and glazing is going to help tie it all together. Tie it up in a little bow. Just sort of push the paint around. If it gets on where the cape and stuff, it's okay. We'll fix it all later. We'll fix it all later. So majestic. Love that scene in the Thor movie where Matt Damon is playing Loki and they're recreating his death scene, and he's talking about erecting the statue with the big horns. And I was like, that's just Loki. I'm getting pretty good at painting. I'm glad it's finally showing. Loki would be a test of my improvements with green since I did Mysterio relatively early. Yeah. I thought the most, so for me, one of the most fun ones for green was actually Viper, because she has a green suit, but then she has metallic green scales on the suit. And then her hair, I did like black green. So once again, you have all these different elements that are all green, but how do you approach them? So I did the metallic silver, and then I glazed the green, and then I picked out those little metallic hits to make those scales pop. And then for the suit, I did sort of the same sort of idea, right? Where I laid down a light green and I glazed over and shadowed. And I don't think I went down to turquoise on that one. I think I went to black. I'm pretty sure I went down to black on Viper. So different approach to the same philosophies. All right, well that's dry. We're gonna go back to the face. Just a little highlights. Little tiny highlights. Get those nose flares. That's how I'm going to approach Vulture with his wings. Yeah, I did Vulture the same way. If you look at, I actually posted my Vulture in the group, and you can see I did the metallic wings. And I found the brightest silver I could find in my collection, and just really went all the way with like a super bright silver, right? And then the trick I did was then I shaded with a very thin, semi-translucent blue-gray, right? And that kind of created like some shadow, but it's very subtle, right? And what that did, mainly the goal was is to remove the metallicness from the shadow, right? Not to just be blue, right, or gray, but just to remove some of that metallic sheen from the shadow areas, right? Because metallics, when they turn into shadow, lose that metallocity. So I wanted to start removing that from the Vulture wings. As I did so, then I was able to reinforce that metallic feel as I glazed, because now I glaze with greens over the metallic wings, and where the shadows are, they become very, I'm going to use the word dull, but I don't mean dull as in boring. I just mean as in the metallocity has been removed. But they become a duller green, and then the silver becomes a metallic green. So it makes it feel more metal, right? It increases that metallocity. And if you have any more questions about metallocity and what the heck that means, we have several videos. You can go back in some old past mini extravaganzas. You can find several videos on me teaching metallocity and what that means. Basically, it's just the philosophy of true metallic metal, taken beyond just, bright silver, black wash. So why we do stuff and how to make things look more metallic with metallic paint. So because we got talking about the smoke being different, I wanted to go ahead and get that layer of off-white ivory on there. Okay, I do think I want to maybe go black on this, or let's do Hulter. With a little touch of that green, transparent green. That's going to make it super dark. And this is going to be a deeper shadow See that little bit of turquoise. Comes in and just erupts that green and makes it really sing. Oh yeah, look at that. Because it's really dark turquoise. Suppose if we can get gathering in those little lines between where the yellow and the green is. All right, it's a wash. You can tell what to do. Look at that green. I'm loving it. I'm loving it, kids. Right there in that line. Like I said, I'm not worried about being messy. I have to paint everything anyways. So I might as well be messy and get it right. Rather be messy now. We can always clean and refine. Refine and define, that's what we do, right? Refine and define. No one's in a rush. We're just painting for fun and having a good time and getting our miniatures ready for the tabletop. Really get that bicep. You can see I'm just really just dapping that sort of damp brush over that edge of that shadow color. Pretty dynamic shadow there. I definitely think we can pop a little highlight on all this green to tie it all together. The back I don't care as much about. The little spats of green right there, you can just be kind of painted. That's good enough. No one's gonna care too much. Someone's like, you didn't paint that back as good as the whole front. Just be like, that's cool. You're right. You caught me. Busted. Okay, let's get some titanium white, heavy titanium white out. Maybe. I feel like I'm gonna make a mess. I did not want to come out. Okay, we're gonna let that green go. Face is basically done. So we used bright yellow green on the suit. We used green on the suit. I think let's do fluorescent yellow for the special effect. Let's make sure the fluorescent yellow is open. Okay, this is very, I'm gonna put a little touch of that green in there too. So this just makes it very electric and very different than the other green. So this is going to look so different, right? Because it's over the ivory. It's got that fluorescent yellow, you know, that sharp, vibrant, electric color that is not present on the suit. The suit's much darker and medium. What's he standing on? He's standing on a chunk of the ruins of Asgard. If you haven't noticed, there's a story going on in in the Asgard in the Marvel Crisis Protocol world. One might even say there's a crisis going on.
Now, when you guys are coming up with the visual sort of, I guess, narrative of sets, or if you're thinking about everything for Asgard being connected to kind of like a narrative thread, is that something you guys discuss with Dev? Is that something that kind of you discuss on your own and Dev discusses on their own and then you come together? Like, how does that enter the conversation?
I mean, for Dev, they don't need that for the rules, right? Necessarily. But the visual design is done first, right? Like the first thing that happens, well, that's not the first thing that happens. The first thing that happens is like the Shik. This is Loki, Prince of Lies, right? This is the big horn, cool, epic Loki. And he's going to do sort of this on the table, right? And then we, because of our timelines for miniatures, we start so much earlier than Dev that we do the visual design first, and we have sort of these loose stories that we're sort of telling, right? Right? There's definitely a Battle of Asgard sort of theme going on if you look at all the Asgard characters and stuff, and you know that may not be as represented on the first Loki, right? He doesn't have rubble to represent that, but it is sort of a tying theme that we have, right? You know, even the mutants have sentinel bits and mechanical bits and stuff like that. So there's like a visual theme that but it all still is sort of taking place in New York City streets, right? So like maybe the worlds are colliding, right? However you want to explain it to yourself. Maybe you don't like this being Asgard. Just, you paint it however you want, right? But we always like telling like a little story with the character. Having a good time. I need that bright white added to my base color for the greens. But we like having like little narratives and just little flavor hits, right? And usually, we've talked about before, right? We get Preston, me, Josh. We'll start doing the visual concept, and they might do a pose and sort of do kind of like a generic, just there might just be a scribble under the foot, right? So it's like he's got his foot on something, and I'll be like, oh well, let's go ahead and do like a chunk of Asgard, right? Something to tie it together. But make it still feel like it can be anywhere in Crisis Protocol. Right, because it is important that, I always say, like, whenever I'm, if I'm playing in City Street, it doesn't matter what dimension is standing on for me, right? I played games where I show up and, I have my whole army based on snow bases, and my opponent has their army based on lava bases, right? Because my army's from the snow, the army's from a lava world, and we show up and we fight on the desert table at the local game store, right? Like that's 80 years of miniature wargaming, right? That's just the way it works. So I always like to imagine, like, maybe pieces of Asgard are, falling from the sky or something, or there's so many stories you can tell. The Bifrost brought the robo with them, exactly, right? Like, this isn't just out of pocket silliness. There's actual comic reasons you can have for these bits. And like I said, we like having like a little fun and telling like a little story and seeing where the story takes us. Oh, I'm getting lost in the highlights, sorry. Lost in the highlights. There's plenty of Asgard rubble in Oklahoma, exactly. It's fun when we were designing like the bases. I literally went downtown Seattle one night and just walked around downtown Seattle and took pictures of sidewalks and city streets for all the inspiration and reference. So it's wild where all that stuff can come from. Even like the New York apartment building was like a building I found in Seattle, sort of mixed with a New York apartment. right, was the inspiration. He's so muscular, Jar. I love these questions. Ask me more of these questions, chat. You got me monologuing. Just don't ask me questions I can't answer. That's not fair. Even when I want to answer, I'm just like, I want to answer that, but I can't.
Well, now that we're through mini Strav, we're
Says you.
surprise next week. No, just kidding. The next slate of big announcements is Adepticon, and with that also comes Path of the Worthy. So how have you begun? I mean, obviously we've done 2 years of it so far. So how are you thinking about that for next year, as far as what you're excited to see, I guess, or anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I mean, just looking at these measures, I think we're going to see some of these Asgardians for sure. And I'm excited to see some Asgardians at Path of the Worthy. There's no way we don't get a Weapon X Logan. There's no way we don't get a Wolverine Deadpool entry, right? Like that. So I'm excited to see what I'm excited. Honestly, what I'm excited for is the stuff that's gonna feel like, whoa, I would not have thought of that. Those are ones that always, like, I get super excited about. It's like somebody just coming up with something and just being like, well, I just want to put that together. That's, you know.
Well, and I expect that's even more exciting for you and the work that you do, because you spend a lot of time thinking about what things are going to be and what opportunities it will offer to people.
Oh, yeah.
So when somebody comes in with something you didn't think of, like, that's got to be so rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talk a lot about like how, you know, like I think some of these questions are all going to come together here real quick. So what thought goes into whether a miniature has fully sculpted base over standard one? So at this, we're going to talk about this all together, right? I'm going to answer that at the same time. When we look at miniature, like we got Loki, Prince of Lies. So we think about this as a miniature and the composition of this miniature, how this miniature's silhouette is going to be represented on the table, how this miniature is going to feel as an individual. But then we think about like, okay, well, Thor is coming with Loki, and how does Thor and Loki fit together? And then you're like, oh, but also Sif and Jane Foster, right? And then we think about like that as like a whole line or a whole wave of releases, right? So it's interesting when you're thinking about these things and then seeing how people like Jonathan Ho's like somebody did the Guardians of the Galaxy at the Worthy. If you go back and look at all the posters of Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're all collected on a single base.
Right.
And like that person saw exactly what I saw in my head when we were drawing those poses. Because those poses like are individual, but really they're all 5 on a base together. And that's what makes all those poses together. And somebody saw that and put it together and composed it just snap perfect, and it was amazing. So it's amazing to see somebody, actually look at what we presented and being like, oh, is this what you were doing? And me being able to be like, that's exactly what we were doing. That's exactly what we were doing. But it's also interesting to see somebody take something and just be like, this is not what you were doing. And I'm like, nope, that's not what we were doing, but holy cow.
Yeah.
Sculpted bases versus not sculpted bases. Great question. Really, it comes down to, that's too yellow. I want more pink. I'm mixing pink and yellow here for the undercoating. How is that decided? A standard base, or are you talking about like Mr. Rich? Is that who asked that? Yeah. Are you talking about like bases like Malekith bases or like this Loki base? Like, can you define a little bit further what the types of bases you're asking about? Because I think you're asking about Malekith or like Weapon X that has like a base topper, or Rogue that has a base topper. I just want to make sure I'm answering your question properly. Oh, World War II cap. Yeah, in Malekith. So full base. It's not just very few things. Fun fact, kids. I'm about to get philosophical. Very few things are binary in the universe. There's a lot of switches and flips and things that have to be taken into consideration when you're designing stuff. Sometimes we just look at the character, we look at the pose, and we look at how to make it go on a base. And it's just like, it's just easier to make a new base for that character than to fit it onto an existing Marvel Crisis Protocol base. Like, it's sometimes just that simple. Malekith was a very interesting design process that is not common for us, right? We've told the story in the past, like President of Publishing at Asmodee, Steve Horvath, loves Asgardians. And we actually drew several Malekith poses, and I was so excited for them, and because I know Steve is such a huge fan of Asgard stuff, I sent him pictures. I was like, look at this Malekith, and he's like, this isn't Malekith. this is you need more. So it just so happened we were going to, Schick, Simone, and I were going to go to HQ like a week later or something like that. And so I just quit working on Malekith, and I just went in a room with Steve and was just like, I pulled out my drawing paper, my pad, and I said, Steve, paint me a picture with your words. Like, tell me what you envision. And Steve just started going on and on, just blah, 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 blah. And he's got to have a sword, and he's got to have this, and then like, what about the Bat Tiger? And I was like, what about the Bat Tiger, Steve? And just letting him rip, I drew that Malekith pose, and immediately I was just like, this is not going to work on existing base. We have to have its own base. It just has to, right? Yeah, and World War II Cap, Bully Cap as we call him, fits with the Howling Commandos and Nick Fury, right? Namor has, we really wanted that Namor to really sing when we started drawing the poses, and it just became real obvious, it just became super obvious, we just kept pushing on it, right? It's just like, well, what if we do this? What if we go? And it just went bigger and bigger, and it was just like, it just needs its own base at some point, right? It just stops working on an existing base, and we're not ones to pull back. I don't know if anybody's noticed this about us. Have y'all noticed this about us? We are not ones to pull back. This is going to look really funky for a little bit because this is very, very pink. But pink is a good undercoat for yellow. I got much further yesterday than I did today. Yeah, I love answering those questions about, why we do things. When I can answer them, I can't always answer them, but when I can, I love answering them. I mean, the new Panther, I think Schick told the story about how that Panther was an homage to, sort of our tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Am I correct?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Schick talked during Main Drive that Panther was sort of or when he was painting it, I think on stream, about how Black Panther Chosen Bass was sort of our tribute to Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, he did talk about that. He did.
Yeah, that was an important sculpt for us. We really wanted to pay tribute to him and his performance and what he brought to that character, and so that sculpt came out of that discussion. And we really poured ourselves into that and went through a couple different designs to make sure we were getting something that really captured the spirit of the Black Panther and Wakanda that was sort of definitely worthy of Chadwick. Yeah, and then there's that, once you get that dope Black Panther base and you got Namor in there, you want them to kind of feel good together in the box, right? So once again, you start talking about the composition of the box, making sure things feel good together, and it just felt right. So I'm not gonna cry, but I might. Talking about this stuff, but super cool miniature that means a whole lot to the studio. We're out of time, and I don't feel like I did as much as normal, but I feel like I've been painting the whole time.
You have been.
What did I do? What did I do? I painted green. I painted face. Let's talk about this real quick. So this was to make these different, right? This was that fluorescent yellow mixed with some of that green ink over top of ivory. I wanted that ivory because it's a yellow white, and then this is much more punchy than this. I'll do a little glaze to darken it, but I'm not going to do much in the way of turquoise. I'm going to keep it all green, no turquoise, no blues. And then whenever I highlight, like this green got white added to it, this green will have the off-white added to it. So it'll keep it smooth, creamy, magical, and much different green. And that's our goal. The yellow areas are underpainted with pink. Pink is a good foundational color for yellow, so that's going to be super great to work on. And then we'll do the shoulder pads, the thigh plates, the gauntlets, the horns, and the trident, all in probably bronze, copper, gold, barcopal, something like that, something very metallic-y. So not a bad little start. And we learned about that transparent green that I have not been using, and now I'm going to steal a bottle from Tony's desk.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's what I do. I just go to Tony's desk and I steal stuff. I'm terrible like that. All right, so thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you got inspired, and hopefully you're ready to tackle your Loki Prince of Lies that's coming out really soon. Remember, every Tuesday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we hang out right here on Twitch. It's called Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. You know that, but not everybody knows that. Spread the word. And then for all the latest news, information, and announcements coming from Atomic Mass Games, you should check us out on Twitter and or Instagram. That's where we post the news of things coming up. So be on the lookout there. So until next week, see you later. Have a good one. Go be heroes, and don't be low key about it.
Oh.
And bang! Got him.